I don't know who all's out there because all I see is a glance G, but welcome to Next LED here in Wichita, Kansas. I know that you guys jump on these webinars to learn about a variety of products. My goal today is to hopefully give you a few things to put in your pocket so when you're out there selling signs, you make more money, right? That's kind of why we're all here. My biggest intention today is not necessarily to go through every single detail of this STAX product. I hope that most of you understand it and have seen it. I'm going to do a really quick 30,000 foot view of what the product is. But more of what I'm going to talk about today is things that when you are talking to an end user customer that's thinking about buying an EMC, the things that they need to understand and the things that you should be talking about that will set your sign shop apart from the other sign shops in the market, and that will give your customer the confidence to write you a big check, because ultimately that's what this product takes. So really quickly, just so that everybody, we're all on the same page, STAX is a product that we launched in 2020. We've been making a traditional message center here in Wichita since 2011. Path to market for that was very similar to many of the bigger message center manufacturers in the country. You send us half down, we start building a big heavy sign, and 6 or 8 weeks later, it shows up on a pallet. When we launched STAX as a modular product, our business changed and the business of tons of sign shops around the country changed. All right. So to understand the product, it's a very simple thing. And that's one of the biggest benefits of this product. Everything is based on this module. It is exactly 1 foot by 2 foot. Everything is self-contained in this. So all your power supplies and data supplies are built into the module, which has a ton of benefits in terms of service, etc. But the bottom line is this product is in stock across the country with Glance. So you can now order an EMC when you are ready to install it and invoice your customer. So that's the biggest takeaway on the product. But with this 1 foot by 2 foot panel, you can build any size sign that you can conceivably sell in your market, right? So you can build a 3 by 6, you can build a 10 by 20. All you do is you take this panel, our frame system, you're simply stacking and bolting together these frames. They're a rigid extrusion, aluminum extrusion. And once you've put your frame system together, you simply install the panel. Now you can do this out in the field, or you can do it in your shop, but you put the panel on the frame system, you use some ribbon cables, daisy chain it together, and ultimately you are going to connect it to the brains of the sign, which is this control box. So in the control box, we really try to make life easy. The sign comes online. We put a Verizon router in that sign. We pay for the data for life. So what I've shown you in 4 minutes is how to quickly and easily deploy a really high dollar, high margin dollar product in your market. That's, like I said, that is not the primary point of discussion today. So I do want to invite anybody that has questions about product specific stuff or anything else I say, type it in the chat, or I will show you all my contact after. We can do a deep dive with your fabricators or your sales team on this product anytime in the same production room. So definitely hit me up if you want to learn a little bit more about the nuts and the bolts. But like I said, some of what I'm going to do is screen share today, and I'm trying to get everybody in and out in like 30 minutes, right? So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And as I try to figure this out, I will certainly fail a couple of times because that's how I roll with screen sharing. I do want you guys to kind of know my background. So when I met my business partner, Luke, in 2011, sorry, I cannot see my choices here. When I met my business partner, Luke, in 2011, I was coming out of the advertising business. He was a sign guy, which is really important to our overall structure as a company, but I was an advertising guy. I worked for newspapers, radio stations, and a few really large TV stations selling advertising and working with small business owners. At that time in 2011, I could see the media landscape was absolutely changing, right? It was harder to get people to buy advertising for television because there were these streaming hadn't even come on, but people were starting to podcast. People were starting to use iPods, to date myself. So you can imagine how much more that has changed in the last 5 to 8 years. But when he showed me this product and he showed me that small businesses were able to buy a full color, nice looking sign and do their own advertising, it kind of hit me. I wasn't a sign guy at that time. I since have very much become one, but I was an advertising guy. and I thought, I want to go into business with this advertising product. And so when I tell you there's 3 things that you need to know that will make you different than the guy that works for the other sign shop in your town, or that will make you earn the trust of a consumer who's not sure whether or not they want to make a big purchase like this, it all centers around why are they buying that? And so when you show up as the expert, the sign expert, they may have called you because they're trying to keep up with the Joneses and the guy down the street got one, or the Methodist church got one, so the Presbyterians now want an EMC. And sometimes they know exactly why they're buying it, but sometimes they are just interested in the product because they've seen it, right? And so you need to show up as a sign shop, as an expert in the sign industry, and turn it a little bit and become an expert in the advertising industry. Because when you talk to them, when you talk to the end user, whether it's a church or a bank owner or a restaurant owner, and you understand why they should be looking at this product, you are selling solutions, not just signs, right? And we are ultimately trying to take price out of the equation anytime we're selling a project, because we're delivering value. But when you can prove that and talk about a couple of these things I'm going to hit on, you are now different than the guy that's just showing up and saying it's X number of dollars. This product, like I said in my intro, is a marketing tool. It is signs in general are certainly have a marketing element, right? Sometimes they're just wayfinding though. Sometimes they're just a simple logo on a pylon, so people know where the business is and where the parking lot is. Certainly valuable. That's how we all make our money in the sign business. This one is a little different though. It's got to be viewed as a marketing tool. And if it's not, then they shouldn't be buying it if they don't understand these concepts. And so when you look at LED signs versus other media, and that is how I think of it every day, is how are they different than online advertising? How are they different than a radio campaign? How are they different than putting my ad in a magazine or on the school, lunch flyer or whatever? These signs are attention grabbing, right? We all understand that. They have animation. The definition of these products, I should have mentioned that STAX has 2 high definition products, 9.5 millimeter and 6 millimeter, but they're designed for people that are driving the same path every day to stop and look and see what you've got. CPM is a cost per thousand. I'm going to show you a little graph here in a second, but understanding that when you're talking to an end user, if you're talking about cost per thousand, if you do a radio campaign in Poughkeepsie, New York, or Southern California, how much does it cost to reach 1,000 people? Our signs have a terrific cost per thousand, probably the best in the marketing industry. Obviously, we talked about fragmented competitive media, right? So to me, in the EMC market, if I'm a sign shop and I'm selling these to the restaurants in my market or my region, I'm competing against that guy spending his money on a radio campaign instead of spending his money on an LED sign. And I need to understand that. I might need to ask him, so why are you on the radio, right? I notice in my town, in Wichita, Kansas, if you hit skip 7 times between like 92.7 and 104.5, you hit 7 straight pop country radio stations. I'm not kidding. Every single one of them, Luke Bryan, right? And so if you're an end user, if you're a business owner, how do you even decide what guy you're going to give $1,500 a month to, knowing that its media is completely fragmented, and then you're missing an entire segment of the population that's streaming anyway. Low cost production. My third and most important point that I'm going to talk about today is the software and the experience that your customer needs to know they're getting into. But really, it takes a lot of money to make a TV commercial or a radio commercial, or hire somebody to do your online advertising. With LEDs, we teach end users how to do it themselves. So that's a big advantage to the product as a media platform. These things are really important in media: timely, relevant, and consistent. Likely, you are taking that STAX and welding it to a pole of some sort or putting it on a brick monument. So it's consistent. It's not going anywhere. It's relevant in that it's reaching people near the business, and it's very timely in the fact that you can change content to match the message that you need. This 85% rule is one of my favorite statistics in this business. 85% of most small business traffic comes from people that work or live within 5 miles of that brick and mortar front door. So if you are going to invest in media, and I wanted to spend money on a TV campaign, in Kansas, I am reaching people 8 hours away if I spend money on the 10 o'clock news. It's very unlikely that they are going to come to my taco shop tomorrow because they saw a commercial, right? And so when you think about how are you as an end user, again, going to concentrate your marketing spend, this statistic is extremely important because you are reaching the people that see you every day and are most likely to buy from you. And then the last thing is, this is one of the few ways you can own your own media. You can certainly own a website. That's one way a business owner can own their own media. But almost every other advertising form, you are paying somebody. You're paying Google, you're paying Facebook, you're paying the Wichita local newspaper, you're paying the radio station or the TV station for the privilege to then put your ad in their platform. And then when you're done paying for the first one, you continue to pay forever. They own the media. When a business or a church or an organization invests in an EMC, they now own that media. And so when you understand these benefits, it's few. Some of them are no-brainers, right? They're duh. But if you're the sign guy that's talking about it instead of just showing up and throwing up a price, you're going to be different and you're going to close more deals, and it's not necessarily going to be based on price. The second big thing that you need, that your customer has to understand, is a different way of looking at this. If you show up with a standard lit static cabinet or a flex face cabinet and you put it on a pole, that customer understands, yeah, I need a new sign, right? They are putting signs in the same bucket that they would put a new roof or a new parking lot or paint on the walls at their business. I don't put this EMC product in that same bucket, and we can't let them put that in the same bucket. They have to understand that they are not, this investment, the choice to put a STAX high definition sign on the street in front of their business is not about a need to upgrade their cap budget. It is an extension of their marketing. So exactly what I just talked about, but there's a couple ways to form the conversation so that you understand how to help them. First of all, it mitigates the sticker shock, right? We all know can be a big number, $40,000. You know, a lot of our customers, we've all dealt with them. They walk into Walmart and see a TV for like $99 now, right? And they think it's going to be the same thing when they call your sign shop. And then when they see what an EMC really costs and they understand we are putting a piece of high definition electronics on a pole outside for 10 years, makes a little more sense why it costs what it costs. But by talking about it as a marketing expense, it can definitely mitigate that big number sticker shock. So how does a message center compare to other media options? So I talk about that a lot. I'm going to show you a chart that addresses these 2 points, and then what's a reasonable ROI for a customer. So I'm going to bounce out of my screen share into another one, but there is a simple way that if you do this, you can take your selling to the next level. And so when I talk about cost per thousand, I hope you guys are all still seeing this. Cost per thousand is the only way in media that you can sort of compare audiences and in apples to apples, right? Because TV is a very different medium than online advertising. So how do you calculate the value of that? It's called CPM, or cost per thousand. How much does it cost to reach 1,000 people? And so if you just did a simple little chart, and if anybody wants this, send me an email or put it in the chat and I will send you this table. But if you can show up and say, you know, I'm proposing a $43,000 sign, you have 25,000 cars in front of your business every single day, right? If you don't know how to get traffic count, I will teach you right now. Google traffic counts, city, insert city. Every city has some sort of a traffic count database. Some are better than others. Some go really in detail in rural. Some stick to bigger populations, but it will at least give you an idea. And then you look at, let's just say our displays will run for 10, 12, 14 years, but let's just go on the conservative side and say in 7 years, you're going to want to upgrade because it works so well. Your cost per reaching 1,000 people is 52 cents. I can tell you from my days in TV in Wichita, it costs $20 per 1,000 on a pretty substantial budget on television. Radio cost per thousands are in the $10 to $13 range. And so you can see here, this is a really affordable media. You can look at your pay-per-click stats online. You're going to find that they're a little bit cheaper, but not cheaper than a digital sign. I've yet to see a cost per 1,000 more competitive than a digital sign. The other thing that you should be talking to your customer about and being real about, this will make you this will put you in the top 1% of sign salespeople in the country if you do this. I promise you. I have a return on investment calculator that's pretty easy to use. Again, we have this $43,000 sign. Mr. Business Owner, what's your gross revenue? You know, I'm not asking all the super intrinsic details of your company, but most 95% will tell you that their annual revenue, I've got a $2 million typewriter shop, whatever it is, right? Gross margin. This is top line, you know, gross margin. It's certainly not net margin or how much that business owner makes. I have a little chart that will give you a starting point if you don't want to ask. This is for a bunch of fields. But if I plug that gross margin percentage in, typically most businesses are going to be somewhere in this 40% range. And then the SBA told us with the message center's most famous stat of all time, that adding a message center to a static sign will increase business 15 to 150%. So with this calculator, I'm still going to be very conservative and say, let's say on this $2 million business, our sign, because of good content and a nice looking sign, increased our sales 10%. You can change this number, we can make it 5, whatever. That means that this business can potentially add an additional $80,000 in profit and break even on their investment in 7 months. That's an incredible look at a business. But if this was a $1 million business, which is probably more likely for a church or something, you would certainly want to talk about what's the value of every parishioner, you know, so there's different ways to talk about revenue, I guess. But even then, if I can break even on this purchase in 2, maybe even 3 years, then I'm scot-free with advertising for the next 5 years of its life before I upgrade that sign. So understanding this makes you, again, very different than most of your competitors. So the last thing I want to talk about is financing. It is a dirty little secret. It's actually not even a dirty little secret. It's a secret that's stupid in this industry. We have a great partner called Geneva Capital that will finance full sign projects, right? A business owner can certainly draw on their line of credit or go to their bank, but a lot of them don't want to tie up that capital to do something like that when they're thinking of this as a marketing expense. Again, I'm going back to that marketing expense monthly number. But there are huge benefits to financing a sign, and it's not just the EMC. They will finance the full construction project, pole in the ground, ID cabinets, masonry, base, whatever else other signage is included. But by looking at financing, and every quote you get from Next the final page of our quote will be an application to Geneva Capital. It's a 1-page application. All you have to do is share it with your customer and get out of the way, because that's what we do. Then it's between the customer and the finance company. We're not the bad guy, we're not the good guy, and the finance company will help us follow up on sales too. But if you start showing instead of, hey, Mr. Customer, every other sign shop in town is showing up, here's my $43,000 sign proposal. If you're the guy that shows up and says, here's my your monthly spend on this marketing tool, it's $1,000 a month. Now you're different, and now you're competing with radio and newspaper and everything. So I absolutely encourage you to download this app. If you are a salesperson that is in this seminar today, or you talk to the salespeople at your sign shop, tell them to go get this app. It looks like this on the iPhone. I'm not sure, probably similar on Android, but it's an incredibly useful tool. So when you are out, and here's a screenshot that I took. When you're out talking to your customer, you can put in the total price of that project. You can put in the term. I generally always put in 60 months, and it's going to give you a very broad estimate, but you can understand that this $43,000 sign could be a $900 a month marketing tool. I am going to tell you, Wichita, Kansas is the 67th biggest media market, or DMA, in the country. You cannot be effective for less than $2,000 a month with a radio campaign in Wichita. And we are number 67, right? So imagine, as you get into bigger markets, what it costs to have an effective advertising campaign on any other platform. $1,000 a month to reach everybody in your neighborhood is nothing. And that changes that sticker shock, and it reinforces all of these marketing conversations we've had. The other big point, Section 179, God bless the government that lets us business owners deduct capital investment. And so there's some huge deduction opportunities, especially near the end of the year when you have customers starting to look, oh, it's November and we had a great year. You've all got those calls. The business owner is ready to spend some money. You can show him what some of the tax savings might look like with this simple calculation as well. So Geneva has put an awesome tool right in your hand that will make you so much better than the other sign guys in the market. So use these tools. It reinforces everything else that we talked about, and it will really help you close some deals. And then, since I'm talking about year end, I'm going to go back to one of the huge benefits of STAX. Instead of having to send me 20 grand and wait 8 weeks, which would take us into January and disqualify us from getting that business owner his deduction, this is in stock. Glance can have it to you in a week, right? So a $43,000 product ordered, shipped, installed, and then customer invoiced in a week. Huge benefit. But don't wait until December 15th. Just I tell you that, but I know you will. The last thing, this is the biggest thing that our industry is terrible at. We have tried to change this. We continue to try to change this. There is a very simple fact that when your sign truck drives off the lot of that business owner who invested in a sign, you guys, you're not this, right? You're going to be there to support your customer if anything, if service needs to happen or anything like that. But that customer doesn't really care about how this was built or the competitor's product was built. They are going to live inside the sign software. Your customer must understand that the biggest part of their purchase is understanding what's the software like, right? You can go into Best Buy and buy an LG or a Samsung or a Sony TV. None of that is going to change your living room. They're all pretty nice, right? What changes your living room is your experience with Hulu or YouTube TV or Netflix. That is where you live, right? That is your experience. It's not necessarily the black box on the wall or the black box on the pole. At Next, we have always tried to focus on the software and the content component. You can have two of the exact same signs next to each other in the market. One can look fabulous and one can look terrible and never change. So if you are the sign guy or sign gal talking to your customer about software, you're much better than most of our industry. One of the sales tricks that I like about this business is get your customer thinking about what they're going to put on their sign, right? They called you, they said they want an EMC. They expect you to show up with a price or email a price, right? Show up and throw up. Not going to work all the time. But if you are the one that shows up and says, does the survey, wants to meet with a customer and says, what are you going to advertise? Like, what kind of content are you going to put on? Oh, we do a pancake breakfast every Sunday morning. Cool. What else do you guys do? Oh, we have a youth group. They're raising money to go to Costa Rica right now. Oh, awesome. Once you get your customer engaged in thinking about how they are going to use this tool, you're halfway to closing, right? I sold expensive TV ads. My job was to sell time in the 10 o'clock news or on Oprah Winfrey Show. But every time I made a proposal, you know, I got paid by selling them 10 o'clock news advertising or Oprah Winfrey ads. I would show up with a script. I wasn't a professional script writer, but just showing up, much like you can with an art rendering, it gets them starting to think, and they go, oh no, I don't want to do that. I'd like to put my dog in the ad or whatever it may be. The second they engage and took that red pen and marked up my script, I knew I was a step ahead to getting them to invest in the advertising. So think about that and talk to them about how they're actually going to use this tool. You are about to sell them an incredible marketing tool. To not talk to them about how they're going to use it, to me, is foolish. The other part, they need to understand who's going to manage the sign. This is another part of thinking about it, and ultimately may have a big influence on how satisfied they are with the purchase, right? So what we find a lot is a business owner gets really excited about this. He buys it and then he pushes it off to, you know, an assistant who doesn't have enough time or energy or resources, and they get frustrated with it. And the sign never changes. But just talking to them about some of these realistic things about sign ownership is going, again, make you different than the others. Project Content is our software platform, right? And so what Project Content is, and I'm going to give you a very quick preview of it. To me, it's the best sign software in the business. It sells itself, and it takes price out of the equation if you're leaning on a lot of these things. I'm going to go back to my my little screen share, move around some of these things, and show you kind of a very quick snippet of Project Content. So Project Content was built for sign owners that suck at making content, which is most of them, unfortunately. There are some good tools in the market now, but Project Content has a very basic canvas editor that allows a customer, you know, to put a background on a slide, to add some text. You know, we make it really easy to use some of these tools to animate our text, for instance, to change our positioning and alignment. And we do all the training for this. I'm just doing a very, you know, down and dirty version of how you can create your own content, right? So we have animation effects that have previews. You know, a customer can ultimately build their own content. That's not the highlight of the product, though. So every sign software does this. I should tell you that. I think ours does a really good job at trying to help people make great stuff. But what Project Content has that no other sign softwares have is a template-based library. So with over 1,000 pieces of content pre-done by professional designers. That's important. While we give anybody the tool to make anything they want, we also understand most people's limitations. It's a tricky medium to design for. You can go into Canva and design a PDF all day, but even the biggest advertising companies in the world don't understand that a 5-foot sign might only be 160 pixels, right? And so what Project Content does is takes these templates, which are built by professional designers. You notice this one that I'm gonna look at. I think I'm gonna go to a 3:2 aspect ratio. So this has got raindrops on a window. It's got obviously great contrast, big bold words, all of these things that we teach people to use. But all a customer has to do in this case is come in and change the words. Let's just say it's now open, right? So they want this ad. It looks terrific. Within a couple of minutes, they've changed the words. This is going to render out into a completely animated ad with raindrops on the window. All of this stuff you're not going to do in that canvas I quickly previewed for you. So sorry for slightly clunky demo, but that is how Presto, the tool with Project Content that we give your user access to, works and can change the game. So if you're a secretary at an elementary school and you get charged with running the sign, we give you tools to make life so easy to make great looking content. When you are talking to your customer about this, this is like going into Best Buy and you get such and such TV, but you get Lifetime, or you get YouTube TV for a couple of years, whatever it may be. It's a value add that your customer has to understand. The last thing I'll say is that your customers need to understand. We got to figure out this Zoom deal, and my camera placement couldn't be worse. They need to understand that project content is also a modern interface. I've seen a lot of sign softwares. Most of them were developed 10 years ago and haven't changed much. Project content is being updated all of the time. It is mobile first. As far as I know, again, there may be one or two others, but not even the biggest ones. It is built mobile first, right? So we can set you up if you are really interested in selling in the way that I've talked about. We can set you up with a demo, but you would be able to take your phone and show them how easy it is to change or schedule content from their phone. This is becoming the #1 asked question when I'm out with a sign shop, doing a demo or something. The principal wants to know, if I have a snow day, can I put it on my sign for my bed that morning at 4 a.m. when I made the decision, right? And so you can see this interface is completely mobile ready. You can easily change your schedule. You can preview your sign and see what's going on your sign. And being mobile first puts you ahead of the game if you're competitively selling against somebody else. And then I also showed you the Presto tool. So again, those are the things that your customer should be asking about, and they should know that you know. What's a snow day? Well, in Kansas, it's when it snows like ½ an inch. In Texas, less than that. And in Michigan, where I grew up, 7 feet minimum in a 24-hour period to get a snow day. So, and then the last thing I will tell you, and that you should be very confident about when you are selling software and you are talking about content, Next is got your back in terms of training your customer. We have automations in place. So the day you buy the sign, your customer is going to receive their login credentials and their training tutorials. We are going to do one-on-one training with them if they choose to do. And then, as we all understand, because we've all gotten this call, when Roger leaves the company and Susan shows up and gets assigned to run the sign, we'll train Susan too. And that will go on for life. So the sign is online all the time because Verizon has been an incredible partner and really reliable. Again, we pay for that data for life as part of the STAX product. We handle training for you. We handle support for your customer or for your end user customer. You can guarantee that you are walking in there selling a really turnkey product that is going to be a terrific, as good as we can help them make it, marketing tool. And so those are the three things that I think will really change the way you are perceived when you're pitching this product. Because as we all know, again, selling big ticket items takes a little longer. There's fewer each year, but man, those paydays are great. And we want to make sure that you are confident. I'm seeing a question that says, will the software work with scheduling that billboard companies use? Yeah, so it can work the exact same way as a billboard scheduling software with proof of performance and things like that. You can also use project content outside of so if a billboard company was using another software to schedule, you could use project content to create content, download it, and then pump it into CoolSign or whatever that you may be doing. So that is my down and dirty, little over 30 minutes. Look, again, if you want to learn more about STAX, specifically the product, the hardware, and shoot questions at me with installers or fabricators, I will tell you they're some of our biggest fans because this is so lightweight and thin and easy to use. Bring them into a Zoom. We can do this exact thing where you can fire away at me one-on-one. That is my cell phone number. That's how I roll. Just text me, call me, and then or shoot me an email. I really appreciate the opportunity to kind of chat with everybody. But if you have any feedback, that's how you get me.
Hey, Brett. We do have one question from Jeff Wilson in the chat. He wants to know, will the software work with scheduling software that billboard companies use?
Yeah, sorry, Bria. I did hit on that. It, like I said, you can use it to schedule a billboard. You can use it to schedule multiple signs. I didn't even get into that. So a bank can run all 8 signs across the country, or you can run 20 billboards on it. And then you can also use some of the features in that software, export the content to a billboard. If you have already another software that you're using to schedule with, you can use Project Content as a content creation tool, or scheduling tool.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Brett.
All right, that's the last chance for questions, unless somebody fires one more off. Again, I really appreciate y'all. Definitely let us know if you have any EMC projects you're working on. If you want those calculators I kind of previewed for you, I would love to show you how they work, and how you can show up and be a little bit different. So again, thank you guys all. We'll catch you on the next side.